thought of canceling the class today, but I felt bad because some of you are going to come. So, inshallah, we'll just summarize what we said last time, and inshallah, we'll go further a little bit, and then inshallah, we'll continue next week. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين ثم أما بعد. We started talking about the obligatory acts of the Salah, which to me is the beginning of the very important part of this class, talking about the acts that we have to do, otherwise the Salah will not be valid. And after this, inshallah, we'll talk about so many sunan or nafl or extra acts of as-Salah. We have talked about the first one. If you're, those of you who were here last week, the first thing is a niyyah. It's one of the pillars of the pillars of Salah. We have to come up with niyyah. So before we pray, we need to have the niyyah, whether we are praying fard or nafl, whether we will pray qasr or jam'a, or we'll pray janaza or istikhara, or any kind of, because of plenty of salat, right? Some of them are obligatory prayers and some of them are nafl salah. So we need just to have this in our heart before we pray. And we talked about the difference in niyyah between the imam and ma'moom, and we don't have to repeat it again. Second is takbiratul ihram, right? And this is the opening of the salah, or tahrim, as Rasulullah ﷺ said. The key is the tahur, purification is the key. Tahrim is takbir, and tahleel is the taslim. So salah starts with Allahu Akbar and ends with Assalamu alaikum, right? And whatever in between is also part of the salah. So this is the beginning of the salah and the end of the salah. And we also said that the word tahrim refers to the first takbiratul ihram, because from that moment it's haram to talk, to walk, to do any other things other than salah. It is very interesting that in the beginning, the Sahaba used to speak while they're praying. You know, they pray behind the Prophet, but you know, they talk. And then the ayat came, قُومُوا لِلَّهِ قَانِتِينَ, right? Stand in prayer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with khushu'. So, and from that moment, nobody was allowed to speak or to do any of the acts that we do usually outside of the salah. And some of the Sahaba were new, they did not hear about this, they came. One of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum was praying, and someone sneezed and said, Yarhamukumullah. And people started looking, you know, in salah and patting at their thighs like this to him. And he kept looking around and said, what did I do? You know, woe to me, what's going on? People are looking at me and you know, making noise. And then after Salah, Rasulullah said, who spoke while we were praying? And he said, Ana Rasulullah, I'm one. So he called him. He said, you know, Salah, we should not talk to anybody or speak as we speak out of the Salah. And he said, Wallahi, he was the best teacher. He never was never harsh on me, or he not scream at me. He just told me, you know, in Salah we should not do this. Easy and simple and things. So the takbir, the first takbir, called takbiratul ihram, because with this we start our ihram, our salah, right? As we start the ihram in Hajj and Umrah, right? We wear these clothes and say labbaik Allahumma labbaik. This is the beginning of our ihram. The first takbir is the ihram. That's why it's called takbiratul ihram. Al-qiyam, number 3, is to stand in salah. So niyyah, takbira, and then you have to stand if you are praying fard, obligatory salah. What if you are praying nafl salah? Do you have to stand? No, you don't have to. You can sit down, even if you are not very tired, if you don't have an excuse, but you just prefer to sit down. You can do that in nafl salah. But you will get half of the reward. So the reward will be cut down. But if you have an excuse, you cannot stand up, then inshallah you will get the full reward in both fard and nafl. So, قُومُوا لِلَّهِ قَانِتِينَ. Qiyam is the third obligatory act of salah. Niyyah, takbiratul ihram, and qiyam, if we can. If you cannot stand, then you sit down. If you cannot sit down, you can lay down, and so on. Number 4, Al-Fatiha. We talked in length about Basmala and whether Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim is an ayah of Al-Fatiha, and a different opinion regarding reading Al-Fatiha if you are the Imam, or if you are the Imam, or if you are praying alone. But what if you pray behind an Imam? Just to summarize it, if you are praying alone, then you read Al-Fatiha. If you are the Imam, you must read Al-Fatiha. But if you are praying behind the Imam, 4 opinions. One, the majority of the scholars said that, let me start with Imam al-Shafi'i. Imam al-Shafi'i said everybody has to read Al-Fatiha in every surah and every kind of salah. Any kind of salah must include Al-Fatiha for everybody, the Imam and Ma'moom, everyone. So it's for him, it doesn't matter whether you're Imam or Ma'moom or praying alone, doesn't matter. This is the first opinion. The second is the exact opposite, that it is not sunnah to read Al-Fatiha at all, whether you're praying Jahri Salah or Sirri Salah. Jahri means loud, and the Imam reads loudly, or it says secret Salah, or like Dhuhr and Asr every day. These are the 2, opposite fatwas. In between, Imam Ibn Taymiyyah and others said that it is when the Imam recites loudly, then you just need to listen, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said when the Quran is being recited, then listen. Istami'u lahu wa ansitu, listen carefully. Right? So it's inappropriate if you read behind the Imam, then you are not listening to what the Imam is reciting. And this happens so obvious in the Shafi'i communities. When the Imam reads Al-Fatiha, he must pause long enough for everybody to read Al-Fatiha. So after وَلَضَّالِّينَ, everybody says Ameen. He pauses. Everybody reads Al-Fatiha. So I don't know if you experienced something like this. If you prayed somewhere and the Imam pauses for maybe 30 seconds or so, long enough for people to read Al-Fatiha. Okay, and then he starts his recitation. Those who said the Imam, everybody must read, even if the Imam is reading loudly, they said he should read it in the silent period between Al-Fatiha and the surah. Hanafis and others said no, there's no valid report that Rasulullah used to pause to give people the chance to read Al-Fatiha. There's nothing suggests that this is the case. So why pausing? So if the Imam pauses, then he brought something that was not reported, something new. And if he did not pause and start reading, then those who are behind him must listen, because Allah said that. When the Quran is recited, then you have to listen. Hanbali, also, the scholars of Saudi Arabia are very adamant also about reading Al-Fatiha. Everybody must read Al-Fatiha. And we talked about the hadith that says that if you don't read Al-Fatiha, Salah is not valid. Hanafi scholars, they said, well, but there's another hadith that says if you have an Imam, the qira'ah of the Imam is your qira'ah for you as well. So you don't have to do it. It's just one Imam reads Al-Fatiha loudly, nobody else reads loudly. So his qira'ah is enough for everyone. So the middle opinion that suggests if the Imam reads loudly, then you listen, but if the Imam is not reading loudly, like in the 3rd and 4th rak'ah and Isha, then you must read Al-Fatiha. The 4th opinion, they said you don't have to, but it is recommended to read Al-Fatiha when the Imam is silent. Right? So one suggests, I like these 2 in between, because it doesn't make sense when the Imam is standing in the 3rd rak'ah and Maghrib, is silent, right? When he stands up for the 3rd rak'ah, he says Allahu Akbar, and he reads Al-Fatiha for himself. Why don't we read Al-Fatiha? Right. This is the second opinion. It says Imam reads for everybody in all kinds of prayers. So if you have an Imam, you don't have to read anything. You are fine, you're good. But the first group said, no, everybody must read every time. So I found the one in between more logical. The opinion of Imam Malik, one of the great Imams, that he said that when the Imam reads loudly, you don't read, you don't have to read. But when the Imam is silent, then you read Al-Fatiha. Reading Al-Fatiha in this case, is it a must or recommended? Two opinions. Okay, some said it's a must. You have to read because Imam is reading and you have the time to read. You have enough time to read, right? If you pray Dhuhr, Asr, why don't you read Al-Fatiha? Oh, Imam is reading for me. So what do you do then? You're thinking about your business? Read Al-Fatiha, people, right? But what if you forgot? Khalas, if you forgot, the Imam, inshallah, Imam's recitation is for you. But Al-Fatiha is the best surah in the Quran. And if we're not doing anything, is Imam reading for us, what are we doing? Right? It takes almost, let's say, a minute to read Al-Fatiha secretly. So read Al-Fatiha. Again, you must read Al-Fatiha if you are following an Imam. One opinion, you must read Al-Fatiha. You don't have to read Al-Fatiha at all. In between, you read only when the Imam is silent. And read only also had two branches. One said, Ibn Taymiyyah, and others said, you have to, because you have the time to read, and there's no contradiction with the ayah, because the ayah said, when you hear Al-Quran, listen carefully. Quran is not being recited. So what do? Read the Quran. You have to. And this is more inclined to the first opinion that says you have to all the time. It's closer. And the other said, no, it's recommended. It's good to read Al-Fatiha, but you don't have to. Right? This is just a quick summary of what we mentioned last time. All right, so what if, and I've been asked this question a number of times, what if someone who is a new Muslim and he does not know Arabic, does not know Al-Fatiha? What happens to this? This is one of the obligatory acts. If he or she are praying by themselves, or they are praying behind an Imam, do they have to read Al-Fatiha? In this case, they don't have to. What do? They either praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and glorify Him. If they know other surahs like Qul Huwallahu Ahad, they should repeat it. Because nothing is equal to Al-Quran but Al-Quran. So if you don't know Al-Fatiha, you know short surahs, read these short surahs until you learn Al-Fatiha. What if someone just new to Islam, no Arabic at all? Then, Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar. These simple words they should learn, easy to repeat. Subhanallah, right? I don't know if someone asked me this before, and I don't remember what was the question, but because someone suggested saying something else. If someone does not know how to read Al-Fatiha, then they may, some scholars, like including Imam Abu Hanifa, suggested that let him say the translation of Al-Fatiha in his or her own language. If the translation is reasonably accurate, then they say it in their own language until they learn. And this all are just temporal things. But he or she must pray if they accept Islam. So the option is read another short surah if he or she knows. If they don't know, they should praise Allah by saying Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, something like this. Or to read the translation until they learn Al-Quran, Al-Fatiha. Some scholars said that, including Abu Hanifa, that you don't have to read Al-Fatiha. It's not a must to read Al-Fatiha. You can read any other surah, because the Prophet ﷺ, when he taught this man, he told him, read whatever you have of Al-Quran, right? Imam al-Shafi'i insisted that the hadith that says whoever does not read Al-Fatiha, his salah is not valid, so it must be Al-Fatiha. Similarly, Imam Ahmad, Imam Malik, Fatiha is they were very particular with Surah Al-Fatiha because of the hadith and the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Number 5, al-ruku'. And after reading Al-Fatiha, we'll talk about reading the surah after Fatiha, we'll talk about the sunnah. And some say it's wajib, and sunnah, we'll talk about this. Al-ruku' is known. You need to put your two hands on the knees and to keep your body like 90 degrees, as we explained last time. So some people, they make it very light when they make the ruku' like this, right? And some try to go all the way like this, right? Especially young people. But the right position is to have this 90 degree, just your two hands on your knee, right? And make the ruku'. That's reasonable enough, okay? Not deeper than this or not lighter than this, right? And then along with al-ruku', there's something called tuma'nina. We talked about the hadith of the man who did not pray well, and the Prophet ﷺ told him to repeat his salah. He was praying very quickly. Like naqr diyaka, you know the rooster, when the roosters eat, they pick something from the worm, boom. Don't do this. The Rasul ﷺ said that naqr diyaka, boom, boom, boom. One quick touch, get up. That's not salah. So ثم اركع حتى تطمئن ركعة. تطمئن, طمأنينة, calmness. What constitutes calmness? How can we count calmness? The Sunnah is full of things like this. It doesn't say like you have to make ruku' for 15 seconds or 15 or more. In the modern time, we always calculate things with specific measurement. There's no such a thing. But calmness, here the ulama said, at least to say subhanallah one time, not very fast or not very slow. And the sunnah, as we will say, to say subhana rabbiyal a'la or subhana rabbiyal azim in ruku' and subhana rabbiyal a'la in ruku' 3 times. And this makes it calm enough. I remember in some masajid in Egypt, they make very long ruku' and very long. So it's the sunnah. And I remember very well in high school, and we had like association, and we rotate leading dhuhr, because dhuhr, we pray dhuhr in the break, in the recess. So, and whoever lead, the masjid is very small compared to the number of students in high school. It was one of the biggest high school, 5,000 students in one high school. Yeah. So, and because we don't get out of the classroom at the same time, so some teachers, they continue until they finish. Some people are closer to the masjid than others. So whoever comes earlier, lead the salah. So sometime, one of the guys who are called Salafis, or just want to follow the sunnah, there's one hadith that Rasulullah sometimes he prolonged Salat al-Dhuhr. And he tried to follow this sunnah. So he prayed really, Salat al-Dhuhr took about 20 minutes or so. Very long. I came for maybe the second or third rak'ah, and it was extreme, and people literally praying on the sand outside of the masjid, hot weather, and the guy was enjoying it. And after assalamu alaikum, the whole masjid erupted. What are you doing? The recess is gone. No time to eat or to do anything else. You have just to run to your classroom. If you are late, you'll be in trouble. So, some masajid are known. Those who lead Taraweeh Salah or prolong the Taraweeh and things, they do this. And people know, it's not going to be like 5-6 minutes. It's going to be like, 12 minutes, 15 minutes, something like this. You have to be prepared for this. And the time between Adhan and Iqamah is maybe more than half an hour, and so on. So we can, I did count it, it varies from one masjid to the other. And by the way, when I used to go back to Egypt, people notice that, Ali, your salah is very fast. Did you get this from American culture? I said, no, not from American culture, from somewhere else, I will tell you. Google IAGD and find out. Many people, my friends, family members, and I was thinking my salah did not change, but relatively was fast, because we pray here fast. If you pray in Dick's Mosque, you'll find out that our salah takes like 6 minutes, Dhuhr Asr, takes at least 10 minutes there. Easy. And this is the norm. People are not complaining. This is how it is. Because reading Al-Fatiha and Surah and little longer ruku' and little longer sujood and tuma'nina just to observe the sunnah and so on. And I would argue that especially the imams should make it reasonably long enough. Because usually people, when they pray by themselves, they make it shorter. So if you pray it short and people make it even shorter, then this can reach the limit of the salah being invalid. All right? So, and I've seen this honestly in this masjid. People pray very quickly. I have seen people who are regular to the masjid, when they pray sunnah or nafil by themselves, you see it, old or young. Try to say Subhana Rabbiyal A'la 3 times from the moment he puts his head to the ground until you cannot. You cannot. I'll try it. Not to be judgmental, but this is very clear phenomenon. And if you think, or if you want to actually, if you can make your salah longer, and instead of saying Subhana Rabbiyal A'la 3 times, you can say it 5 times, or 7 times, or 9 times. Right? Just to, because this is the most precious thing we do every day. Salah is the best of a'mal. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was asked, what is the best or the dearest amal to Allah? He said, as-salatu ala waqtiha, to pray on time. Right? Salatu imaduddin. This is the tent, and you have these pillars, 5 pillars holding this tent. If these pillars are weak, broken, then very easy for the entire trend to collapse. Right? So Rasulullah said, قال ثم اركع حتى تطمئن راكعا. He did not say where to put your hands, make ruku'. Right? But this is the best, the ideal, to make ruku' this way. Right? حتى تطمئن راكعا. So when we make ruku', we can say, like some people say, Allahu Akbar, Sami Allahu liman hamdah. He said, I said 3 times. The point is, the number is not the issue is to make it long enough. When we say Allahu Akbar, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim, then this position is separated from the previous position, standing, right, and the ruku', right, and the raf'a from ruku'. Because sometimes people just link one position to the other. When you say Allahu Akbar, and before they go to ruku', Sami Allahu liman hamidah, Allahu Akbar, before they stand up. Right? So you have to separate every position from the other. So when you're standing, and then Allahu Akbar, and this tuma'nina, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim. Then when you say Sami Allahu liman hamidah, there are plenty of du'as to be said, but your body must go back to that normal. حتى تستوي قائما, until every bone, another hadith, every bone goes to its normal position. Right? ربنا ولك الحمد. Can say ربنا ولك الحمد حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه كما يحب ربنا ويرضى. Then you go for sujood. So every position is distinct. Is not part of the previous one or the next one. Huh? Yes.
When you're following the Imam, a lot of times people try to time it so that they are in sync with the Imam.
They are what?
They just want to do it as Imam is doing it.
Okay.
Sometimes they take the position slightly before the Imam.
Uh-huh.
And what I've heard is that invalidates your salah if you are ahead of the Imam.
Right.
So the safe practice would be that, like for example in Ruku, when Imam says Hamidah, only then it starts to.
Right. Right.
Make sure that you're not doing like.
Right. So you're making a comment, not a question, right? That's a very good comment. When you are following the Imam, if you go ahead of the Imam, Salah does not count. If you are at the same time of the Imam, that's very highly, disliked. لا تسبقوا الإمام ولا تسووا. Don't go ahead of the Imam and don't be with him. When he finished, I remember when I was very young attending these fiqh classes, the Sheikh said, the Imam has to finish the word Akbar, the Kaf and Ba and the Ra. And when you hear the Ra of Akbar, then you start moving. Right? And when he says, Sami Allahu liman hamidah, then you start moving after he finished the word. Right? And I've seen also people that they I don't know why, you are not going to finish Salah until the Imam says Salam Alaikum. So there's no point to speed up so you're not going to finish earlier than others, right? So there's no point just to go with the Imam and some people, expect when the Imam will say Salam Alaikum, they just boom, like the people in the red light, and they expect the green, they start moving before there's green. So you're saving half a second or 1 second? What are you doing? I mean, it's really amazing. Now, no, wait for the Imam to say Allahu Akbar. Okay? Right. What do you mean by we know the surah?
No, the Quranic, any small surah, and Alhamdulillah and after.
So what's the difference between the small surah and the big surah? The surah you know and the surah you don't know.
Any of the surah, when the surah is going to be end.
Oh, okay. No, just finish the whole rak'ah until the Imam says Allahu Akbar and then you say Allahu Akbar. Don't run to the red light. Wait until it's green. Jazakallah khair. Thank you. Okay. Right?
I have a quick question.
Okay.
From the Raku, you sort of said Sami Allah wa Hamida, but people behind you say but then I noticed recently when I went to Umrah,
Like alhamdulillah, shukr.
it took them, I want to say, at least 2 minutes before they say Allah Akbar.
Yeah, I mean they prolong. You see, I know. When it's too long, it's too long, and when it's too short, it's wrong. But I mean, some like to be in the safe side, and again, you cannot measure. And sometimes, I don't know. Many Muslims, they maybe they have nothing in their brain, so they just talk about. One was in Dick's mosque. When should the Imam says Allahu Akbar? If he's going for sujood, let's say. While he's standing, or in the middle of his position between standing and sujood, or right before he's touched the... What is this? When you hear the Imam say Allahu Akbar, just follow him. You see my point? Okay. Imam, I observed that your pronunciation of Allahu Akbar is late. What do you mean it's late? No, because I heard some scholars saying that the movement and the word, the pronunciation of Allah Akbar must be at the same time. So, give me like a measurement or timer or so. What do you mean? It's just common sense. Why are you busy with this? Just when you hear the Imam says Allahu Akbar, say Allahu Akbar. You cannot measure it. You cannot just by the nanosecond when your body in this particular. I mean, we're not playing, dancing, ballet. I mean, yes. Now we talked about this last time. Now you have to say Allahu Akbar. Yeah. Only Abu Hanifa said any glorification of Allah would do what all other madhahib and ulama said no. Allahu Akbar. This is what the Prophet did very consistently, right? So takbir is the one. They said one time just to maintain the calmness, okay? But if you say 3 times, that would be even better. This is the sunnah, right? Rasulullah ﷺ used to say it 3 times. And if you are playing by yourself, or tahajjud, or qiyam, if you want to make it 100 times, go ahead, yeah, there's no maximum. But the calmness should be maintained. What is the minimum level of calmness? Is to say Subhana Rabbiyal A'la, Subhana Rabbiyal Azim 3 times. Not very quickly. Dua al-istiftah. We will talk about it, yeah. We'll talk about it when we talk about the sunnah, because this is not a fard. Yes. All right, so this is what I was talking about when I said some masajid used to do this. They just want to be all on the safe side and maintain this calmness, they have no doubt and things like that. So, but again, the point is to keep the body in the normal position before you move to the next position, right? Again, when we rise up from ruku', we have to stand until our body is straight again. And as I mentioned last time, there are many du'as like سمع الله لمن حمد ربنا ولك الحمد حمدا كثيرا طيبا مباركا فيه كما يحب ربنا ويرضى. And one of the Sahaba said this, and the Prophet ﷺ said, I saw 3 or another narration 40 angels are racing who would take this beautiful dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Beautiful praising of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. لا ينظر الله إلى صلاة رجل لا يقيم صلبه بين ركوعه وسجوده. Allah does not look at the salah of the one who does not keep his back straight in his ruku' and sujood. So when you make ruku', you have to maintain it until you're calm, and then when you stand, and then you make sujood. So Allah does not Allah does not look at this salah. Allah does not look at it because He just want to make it very quickly and go and watch the game or do what he or she was doing. All right? Yeah, but this is a different context in the end of Surah Al-Shara. So, yanzur here, Allah does not look at it. Allah sees and knows everything. But when the Prophet said Allah does not look at this salah, it means that Allah will not be interested in this salah. It does not like this. It does not mean that Allah does not see. Like Allah says to the people of Jahannam, they forgot about Allah and Allah will forget about them. How would Allah forget? Forget here in this context means Allah will not, He will ignore them. They are out of His mercy and okay, you stay there, abandoned. This is the meaning of Nasullah. Allah does not forget. But in this context, linguistically, it means something else. So coming back from ruku' is another obligation that we have to do until our body is straight. Yes? From Sami'a.
So now, because you're praying in Jama, is it an obligatory me to kind of follow so we all are standing at the same time? Because the whole reason for praying together is to follow all these.
Yeah, but we have to stand the same time in the right time. Everybody is doing it wrong. There's no point to be with them or doing the wrong thing just for the sake of being with everybody. No, we don't do that. We do the right thing and we teach those who don't know. And the fact that the masjid is empty now, people are not interested. Because salah is, we know everything about salah. Huh? Donkey. Yeah. So the point, Akhi, is that when people do the wrong thing, that we don't just do like them just for the sake of being in Jama'ah. We do the right thing, right? So, yeah, I know. Sami'a, when the S sound, boom, everybody's up. That's why, by the way, some imams, they stand all the way and then they say, Sami'a Allahu liman hamidah. Then number 7 is the sujood, right? Sujood is the 7th obligation. ثم اسجد حتى تطمئن ساجدا. Now sujood, what are the a'da of the sujood, the limbs that we use in sujood? 7. On the face, the 2 hands, the 2 knees, and the 2 feet, right? All right. Does this include the nose? Because the head or the jabha, the forehead, does it include the forehead and the nose? They both must touch, or just the forehead? Some ulama said if someone put his forehead only and his nose is little above the ground, that will be okay. It's not but the salah will be valid. Others said no, salah will not be valid until his face, including these 2. The Prophet ﷺ called them 1, but the forehead and the nose must touch the ground. This is the mass majority of the ulama. They say that this is just considered 1, the face, the nose, and the forehead. Okay, because some people do like this and their nose is above the ground. No, you should make sure that these 2 are the same level, touching the ground. So these are the 7 bones, according to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Sab'at a'da, the 7 bones, the face, the 2 hands, the knees, and the feet. Yes. Huh? How about the hand? Oh, okay. I was planning to talk about this in the Sunan and the wrong act, but the Sunnah is to keep your head between your two hands, because sometimes I see people pulling their hands like this, right? They're too lazy to extend their body and just want to do it just. No, you put your hand, two hands first, and your head is in between, and your fingers are directed towards the Qibla. Don't open them up, and don't keep this side or touching the ground, right? Don't let this side touch the ground. Okay, so, and of course don't do it all the way like this so that those are next to you. I don't know if you experience this sometimes in Taraweeh. I have a lot of people and someone wants to do like this. You're not praying and just, you keep your hand in the normal position, all right? The two hands, the head in between, not all the way in the back, and don't do like cats. Some people like, have you seen this? Just like, like this. And no, just your palm must touch the ground. Again, the fingers coming together toward the Qibla, your head in between. Easy and simple. Yes? In the knees, because this does, yeah. No, don't extend it. Don't put it in the air. You don't have to do like this. No. Do people do that sometimes? In sujood? No. In sujood, just keep your hand like this and go as far as you can. It's a good exercise. It's not good. See, from scientific perspective is wrong, from fiqh is wrong. When you are sitting on the chair, just put your hand like this and say Allah. There's no point to make this. No. Yeah, two opinions, but the right one is to go with your knees first and then your hand comes after. Right? I mean, a lot of details on this, but the stronger hadith that you go with your knee first and then with your hand. This would well, if you have an excuse, it's a different story. You can do anything, right? But we're talking about the normal practice.
Is there a hadith that says that, or not hadith, like a companion saying that when the Prophet would do this, like would be in the sajda, you could see the white of his armpits. So the people who stick out their elbows, they say that that's what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, when you are praying by yourself, is different from when you're praying in congregation. When you're praying in big congregation, there are plenty of things that are allowed just to make things easy on other people. And sometimes we find ourselves in a position where there is no place for you to make your sujood. Sometimes in the haram, everybody's standing, almost you are touching the back of the one in front of you. So you cannot make ruku' the way I described. So do as much as you can. How about sujood? You can make sujood on the back of your brother. Okay? You can put your head. See, this is rahmah. We're brothers. We're one thing. So you cannot touch the ground because So you make sujood on his back, on his feet even. If this is the only place where you can put your head. Easy and simple. But we always differentiate between the normal situation and exceptions. We have exceptions, but we don't have these exceptions every day. Right? Alhamdulillah, I have plenty of space, but sometimes haram or the big masjid or big crowd, you should expect this. Someone will make sujood in your back, and the one in front of you should expect you to make sujood in his back. Easy and simple. Right? Yes.
I heard that, Prophet Muhammad had used to keep it right.
Right. Okay, so there are two qu'ud, sitting. There are two things. One is the qu'ud between the two sujood and the first tashahhud, and the qu'ud in the final tashahhud. And the issue is easy and simple. It's not like big. There are some makruh or prohibited way of sitting, but there are a variety of other sitting that have been narrated in the Prophet ﷺ. So it's difficult to explain it. So between the two sujood and the middle tashahhud, the sunnah is to sit, or the many ahadith repeatedly said that the Prophet used to sit on his left foot, and his right foot is that his fingers or toes are facing the qibla, and the right foot is standing, right? Okay, so it is just like this, all right, when you are, let me take this here, that's okay, all right, so when you are making sujood and then you sit between the two sujood, this is the most authentic narration that the Prophet ﷺ used to sit like this, all right? Okay? Can we sit down like this? Yes, there's another hadith, all right? Although this looks very unfamiliar, or not, people don't do that, but there's an authentic hadith. The Prophet ﷺ would do this between the two sujood, right? You say Allahu Akbar, and then go back, okay, for the second sujood. The middle tashahhud was like this, right? Or like this, okay? And the final tashahhud is called tawarruk. Tawarruk means you sit down like this, all the way down, right? You touch the ground, and the left is under the right, and the right is standing, and the toes are facing the qibla, right? So either one of these, inshallah, will be okay. But the one that it's called at-tawarruk is the most authentic one for final tashahhud, because this is the longer one, so the body will be comfortable this way. But if you alternate between all these things, that also will not affect the validity of the salah. Allahu a'lam. Right? القعود, let me finish this and then خلاص we are almost done. القعود الأخير وقراءة التشهد. The final sitting, or tashahhud, the final tashahhud, is one of the pillars. The middle tashahhud did not mention about the middle tashahhud. The middle tashahhud is one of the sunan and wajibat. We'll talk about it. But the final tashahhud is a must. What if someone forgot the middle tashahhud? You can make it up. You can make two sujood as-sahw. That will be sufficient. But if you, I don't know, someone can forget the final tashahhud. But the final tashahhud, the final sitting and saying the first half tashahhud is the eighth obligatory act of salah. So when in the last rak'ah, we sit down for tashahhud and we say the tashahhud, not only sitting. We sit for tashahhud and say tashahhud, the first half of tashahhud. Number of narrations, Abdullah ibn Abbas and Ibn Mas'ud, but the majority of the ulama suggest or hold the opinion that the narration, the hadith of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud is the most authentic hadith. It has been narrated in many different ways, and all of them are not contradicting, none of them contradicting the other. So that's the most authentic one. The one that is very famous, the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud said, we used to say, Assalamu Allah, Assalamu ala fulan wa fulan, and the Prophet said, don't say Assalamu ala Allah, because Allah is a salam. You know, we say Assalamu alayk, I grant you salam, I give you peace, my peace to you, so we have peace. You cannot say Assalamu ala salam. You know, he is a salam. Allahumma anta salam, you are a salam, wa minka salam, from you is peace, right? So the Prophet said, don't say Assalamu ala Allah, but say At-tahiyyatu lillah, was-salatu, wat-tayyibat, Assalamu alayka ayyuha an-nabi wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Assalamu alayna wa ala ibadillahi as-salihin, ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. This is the first half of tashahhud, which is a must. Everybody has to say. Right? I'm not going to confuse you with the other narrations. That's just enough to know this. And then the second half of tashahhud, we'll talk about it when we talk about the sunan of salah, inshallah. And finally, number 9 is at-taslim. At-taslim. Again, number of hadith, number of opinions. Some say taslim 2 times is wajib. We have to do 2. And some ulama said, no, one is sufficient. And there are narrations on Aisha radiallahu anha and others that the Prophet ﷺ used to make taslim one time. Assalamu alaikum. One time. And other hadith said that Rasulullah ﷺ used to make taslim twice. And again, how many times the Prophet ﷺ led the Sahaba in Salah? And why they have, different hadith, different narrations? Because he saw ﷺ, sometimes he make it this way. Aisha observed this, she was sure. She saw the Prophet ﷺ doing that. And the Sahaba who narrated described the Salah of the Prophet, they said he made it twice. And many ulama, which I believe that they said the first taslim would be sufficient. If someone made one taslim, that would be sufficient. But it is sunnah to make two. Imam Shafi'i and the majority of the ulama are with the opinion that the sunnah is to make two taslim. Imam Malik and others, they said one taslim is the sunnah. So if you are in a Maliki masjid or in Morocco or Algeria, you say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and you'll be waiting for the second one, it will never come. Okay? So that's it. One salam is good enough. In Mecca and Medina, if you have been there for Umrah or Hajj, this is how they do the salam for janazah, right? Almost after every salah there is janazah, right? And the Imam says 4 takbir, and the first one, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, and that's it. Okay? According to Hanbali madhab, this is only in Salat al-Janazah. Imam Malik and others said this is in every salah, because they quoted a hadith, authentic hadith. And Imam Shafi'i and the majority of the ulama are with the opinion that it's sunnah to say it twice. And they said one of the hadith that said that the Prophet when the Prophet makes the steam, we would see the whiteness of his cheeks, the right and the left. So he goes like this. So his chin is almost the same level of his shoulder. It's not like sometimes because, right? No, just don't be very lazy. Just Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So imagine if someone is sitting behind you, he would see your check. Okay? Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Right? So isn't this healthy for the neck? Good. You are stretching your neck. See? Right. Right. Okay, I will stop here. Inshallah, next time we'll talk about the sunan and we'll talk about raising the hands. I know you'll be very interested to know about this. When to raise your hand and so on. So we'll talk about this. All right. Yes. Oh, we have a question here. I'm sorry. We have to give some priority to the sisters and. The question said that I said that we have to say takbir behind the Imam. I didn't say that. I said we have to wait until the Imam say Allahu Akbar until we start moving. I did not say that we have to say takbir behind the Imam. So when the Imam says Allahu Akbar, you may say Allahu Akbar if you want, but when the Imam says the first takbir, everybody must do. So the question is it every takbir or only first takbir? First takbir, everybody must do. The Imam and the Ma'moom, if you are praying by yourself, because again, this is how you begin your salah, right? So everybody has to say the first takbir, which is takbiratul ihram. But for the other takbir, when the Imam says Allahu Akbar, then you say Allahu Akbar and start moving. But after he finished the word Allahu Akbar, when you see the ra, then you can say Allahu Akbar and you make your ruku or sujood. And please don't make it loud. It was very loud tonight. Right? Some people, they Allahu Akbar. When they say Sami Allah, Rabbana wa lakal hamd. So just take it easy. Because you don't want to disturb people. So, right? Yes, Akhi. I didn't see anything like this. I did not come across any difference between men and women in this regard. Mm-hmm. Mm. If you know you are going to finish it before he says Sami Allah and Hamida, then finish it quickly and catch up, right? But if you think that either you are so slow or the Imam is so fast, just go with the Imam, right? And again, this varies from one Imam to another. Some people will be faster than others. If you think you can catch up, you are like غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين, and then you make ruku', be like a few seconds late, and you can comfortably follow him in ruku', that's fine. But if he said Allahu Akbar and then Sami Allahu liman hamidah and you stand still there, khalas, that's it. Right? So don't be very late. No.
When you are in sujood, what is the correct posture for your feet to touch on the ground or cross?
The correct one is, again, to keep your toes towards the Qibla and the 2 feet are standing. Okay? So, yeah, this is.
Straight down or at the sujood
When in general, you look at the place where you make sujood. Whether you're standing or in ruku', you keep your side towards the point where you make ruku'. Don't go further or right or left. Just try to focus on this area. Right? Naam?
I have a different question here. There was a news report that came out about a Quran that they have, by scientific methods that they found.
In Birmingham. In Birmingham University, yes.
Exactly. So it's around 650 AD, so that puts us very close to
The Prophet's time, yeah.
timeline of Prophet Muhammad.
Alayhi salatu wassalam. Right.
And the narrator was saying that the verses are exactly the same as it is right now.
I looked at it and I found out the same thing.
And so it provides a pretty solid evidence that, which is stated in the Quran and what we believe in, is that it is an unchanged scripture from God.
Right.
So what's your opinion about
My first impression when I saw this, the first thing is that this is a very typical example of the different scientific methodology between the West and our traditional methodology. In Islam, let me start with the West. According to Western academic methodologies, the most early book or manuscript, it has much more scientific value than those who came later on. That's why they always try to find the oldest version of the Bible, the oldest manuscript of the Quran, the oldest copy of whatever, or the earliest. If you talk about the seerah of the Prophet, the earliest book of seerah, like Ibn Ishaq, and then Ibn Hisham. So going as early as possible, or has more value. Okay, and when we apply this to the Bible, you can see the huge difference. The very most ancient copies and the ancient copies and so on. Even the most ancient, you have hundreds of copies of the Bible. And you cannot find out of these hundreds, if not thousands, 2 identical. Not at all. You cannot find 2 identical of the most ancient. And of course, you find them in different languages, Aramaic, Hebrew, and Latin, and so on. So from Western perspective, it's very valuable because this is the earliest or the oldest that we know of, right? But I've just two things that 2 questions I personally have. I wish people in Birmingham can answer. One is that I found some dots there. If you look at it, you find dots. And we know that dots came in the 2nd century when Khalil ibn Ahmad, one of the genius of Arabic language and Islam, people used to say that the most smart people are two, Shafi'i and Khalil ibn Ahmad. He's the one who came up with these dots to differentiate between sounds, like seen and sheen. They used to be written the same. Okay? Shara alam nashrah laka sadrak. Nashrah, it's like 3 teeth. Alright? But how did they differentiate between sh sound and sa sound? They don't really need the dots because it cannot be any word about nasrah, cannot be nasrah, right? So for them that's easy, it's not confusing. For us now it's very confusing, right? So the same applies to noon, n sound and ta sound. You have 1 dot, n, 2 or ta, and 3 or tha. But if you want to write thumma, right, you don't have to put the 3 dots because it cannot be read any other way. But later on, Al-Khalil ibn Ahmad and non-Arabic speaking people became Muslims. They need to differentiate between the sounds, right? The first thing you learn is the ABC in Arabic. Okay, what's the difference between ba, ta, and tha? It's the same shape, but when the dot is the bottom, it's ba. In the top, it's ta. And you can see the bottom and top, by the way. Bottom, ba, top, ta, and then we have 3, it's tha. 3 also. This can show you the influence of her. No, this is not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that they said, according to they call it carbonic radiocarbon test, but this 5% merge of error. All right, so I'm not sure if this is very accurate. I don't think this was written at the time of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is my very quick, not in-depth research, but seeing the dots and knowing the fact that these dots, to quote tanqeed came by Al-Khalil ibn Ahmad, who differentiated between this sound between these dots, and he used to put it in different color. So people, when they read, they know this ba, ta, and tha sounds. So the meaning, of course, will significantly change. It depends on the sound. The second thing is that I don't know. I found it very difficult to imagine this very valuable manuscript has been there for more than 100 years and nobody pays any attention to it. And all of a sudden, just by accident, someone found it. Where was it before that? Why now? It was in Birmingham for 100 years. And the University of Birmingham is one of the oldest universities in the world. And you have these manuscripts and nobody.
But what they also stated, there are only 2 pages that match those dates. The rest of the scripture of the book are, so either 2 are getting inserted in a 300-page scripture. 2 of those pages are.
Right. They said fragments. It's not a full mushaf. So, again, from Western perspective, we have this value of this book or pages because it's the fact that it's old gives it value. But from Islamic perspective, we don't really look at these manuscripts this way. We always focus on the concept of authenticity by asking the question of who wrote this and where did he get it from? Who read this for him? So the concept of authenticity, the hadith, and fulan, and fulan, and fulan, we know the chain of narration, all right? And again, for us, many Muslims said, so what? Are we waiting for manuscript to prove that Quran did not change? We have our children, they hafiz the Quran, young as 9 and 10 years old. We memorize the Quran. We have no doubt. For them, let them dig and find the oldest copy. This is to satisfy their methodology, fine. But for us as Muslims, even when we talk about a hadith, which hadith to take and which hadith not to take, we have the science of hadith. How to measure the authenticity of the hadith is based on a very solid scientific method, right? So Al-Bukhari, he developed his methodology to include one hadith in his Sahih. It must, agree with all these criteria, which is very strict. But he said the only these hadith that meet this criteria I will accept. So again, the Muslim world did not celebrate finding this. I mean, it was like one of the news that nobody, oh, alhamdulillah, see, it's extra evidence, fine. But this did not add anything to us.
Also, during the Prophet's
Alayhi salatu wassalam.
it was not in one place. It was either on the wood, the leaves, or leather. It was combined.
Yeah, but it was all, the fact that it was all written, not necessarily in one book, in of itself, from Western perspective, it's very valuable. It's very, and especially if you compare it with the Bible. I'm sure this was very, embarrassing. But again, I talked to one of the Catholic priests, a friend of mine, and I told him about this authenticity that we have to be very strict with this. If someone is not known, the whole hadith is ignored. So we are very strict with this methodology. So, but if you apply this hadith methodology to the Bible, you have 300 years missing. It's not one person. 300 years. See how many generations there are missing. You know what he said? He said, well, in Christianity, we don't really emphasize this concept of authenticity the way you do. We focus on how to implement these stories, these principles into your life. It's like someone gives a khutbah and he mentioned a very fake hadith or story or a dream, and you ask him, where you get this from? So I heard someone, but that, brother, that's not important. What's important, get the lesson and apply it in your life. Fine, if you're giving a maw'idha, reminder and things, that can fly, fine. You don't have to know where he get it from, but the lesson is good. But when it comes to hadith, to say Rasulullah said, is totally different story. It's totally different story. You have to really, that's why we have ilm is called ilm al-rijal. Al-rijal means men, biography. So the ulama of hadith, they have to study the biography of everyone who was somewhere narrating hadith. Think about it. If you have 10 hadith, if every one of these hadith has, let's say, 15 people from the Prophet time until it was recorded. Okay, so 10 times 15, you have 150 people. For you as a scholar of hadith, you need to know everything about these people, to memorize their life, their biography, what the ulama said about them. It's very interesting that some madhahib, they accept the hadith and others do not accept the hadith. Why? Because they differ over the trustworthiness of one person in this. They consider him a good person, you can take hadith from him. Others said, no. You know what someone said about him? He used to eat in the street, in public, while standing. So what's wrong with it? No, this means that he's not an appropriate person. Others said, no. I mean, did he lie before? No, I would consider him a good person. I will accept the hadith narrates. Others said, no, I'm not going to accept the hadith narrate. So for this group, the hadith is authentic. For the other group, the hadith is not authentic because they have different opinion about one of the people who narrated the hadith. So this is just my reflection on this subject, and I hope that someone, one of the young scholars, can really write a comparison between the collection of the Quran and the collection of other scriptures or the New Testament and the Old Testament. Maybe this can. And many Christian theologians, not many, all of them, none of them said that the Bible that we read now is 100% authentic. No one would ever, I'm talking about scholars, not these ignorant priests and pastors who just don't know what they're talking about. I'm talking about scholars, academicians, theologians. None of them will ever dare to say that this Bible is 100% authentic, because it's not. He said maybe what is the name of the new, the reverse RSV, reverse new version, something like this. The publisher, they said approximately 60%. Similar to King James, because it's been translated from one language to the other. So it's impossible scientifically. If you are following any academic measure, you cannot say this is authentic. But in the case of Quran, it's very obvious, very clear. It's authentic. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.